Hey, I hope you're doing well today. And today we're going to go through MCP, or Model Context Protocol. So we're going to go through the setup, how you can install everything, and how to start using it today as well. Let's go. So if you haven't heard about MCP before, it does stand for Model Context Protocol, okay? So I'll explain in the easiest way that I can. So coming back to n8n, normally our setups look something like this, where we have a lot of nodes, and in this case, this is for Airtable, right? And we would have a lot of these nodes here, and each of these nodes would have a task that it does, okay? So this one here, for instance, is creating a record for idea, and this one is for a task, and then we have some for deleting them, and then we have also some for fetching and getting those records, and then of course updating those records as well, okay? But essentially with Model Context Protocol, instead of us having a large amount of nodes connected to all our tables and ones that are specific for creating rows and deleting them and updating them, now we're just left with one node right here, okay, which is connecting to the MCP server. And what this allows us to do is that we can actually just use a singular MCP node right here connecting to the server to perform all the actions just as we would use something like this, okay? And now we're going to go through a really simple, easy setup so you at home can also start using this. So we're going to use Railway today, and you'll see the URL up here, railway.com. Now I chose this over the rest in terms of the alternatives like Alestio, Vultr, DigitalOcean, and so on and so forth, because Railway, in terms of just the UI, in terms of how everything loads here, is just perfect, okay? It's so nice and smooth. So what I want you to do here is get registered and get logged in, okay? Now you should be about here after you've registered everything. What we also want to do is jump on a plan, okay? So we can look at the plans just over here. Now I'm currently on the hobby plan. The hobby plan's only $5 a month, okay? So that's very, very cheap. But this gives us 8 gigs of memory as well, okay? And this is going to be plenty to use n8n for the tasks that we require. So do jump on the hobby plan, okay? Now we're going to come back again, and now we're going to create a new project. So I'm going to click on new up here, and you might see something like this as you're logging in as well, okay? So you might be around here. Now, the one I want you to click is deploy a template. So we just click that, and we're just going to type in n8n and latest, okay? And you'll see this one right here, n8n latest Kenkai. Just click on that, and then you'll see the environment variables here. And this one here in particular is the one is required to use MCP, because this is using a community node. It's a node that someone has developed, not officially by n8n. All we need to do in here is just type in true, and down here, true. And then we click deploy. Okay, so before we even start deploying everything straight away and jumping straight in, I want you to first click on this, okay? And I want you to go to settings. Once you're in settings here, you might not have a URL that you can actually click straight away. So what we want to do is generate a domain. Press on that. We want to select a port. We're just going to click 5678, because generally by default, most people are going to be on that. We're going to generate domain, okay? And then I want you to come over here as well and choose the server which is closest to you. So if you're in Europe, you're going to choose obviously Amsterdam, Netherlands. And if you're in the US, choose the state which is closest to you. In my case, I'm in Australia, so I'm going to choose Singapore, okay? And we come back over here, and I'm just going to deploy this, and that's going to deploy with those changes as well. And I'll jump back when it's all ready. Okay, so we have a deployment successful now, and we're looking at the logs. It is accessible at 5678 for the port, and we're just going to exit out of this right here. And we can see right here, we do have our URL, which we can click. So I want you to click on this. And now we're going to open up our n8n instance. And here we are. So first things first, obviously, you want to set up your account. So put in your email and all your, all your information. Make your password. I'm just going to suggest a password. Use strong password. Go next. Get logged in right here. We can just press get started. And then we want to send me a free license key. So we're going to click on that. Open up your email now. So I'll refresh mine. Here it is. There's my key. Copy that. We're going to come back to n8n. And you see this little pop-up here? We're just going to click usage and plan. And then we're going to activate our key via this button right here. Place in our key. Press activate. And we're activated. Simple as that. Okay? But now, I want to get that MCP node, the community node here. So we're going to click on community nodes. We're going to click on the installer community node. And then we're going to click on browse. Now, up here in the top right, you'll see sort by. We're just going to click on sort by, most downloaded this week, and it should be about the 3rd one. There we go. We're just going to copy this, okay? So we're just copying that, We're coming back to n8n. We're going to paste that name straight in here. Okay. Press I understand and press install and just wait for the motions. And I'll jump back again when it's ready. All right. And now we have the MCP node installed as well. So now we can actually use it. So we should be about here. I want you to click on the back button and we can just start from scratch. And now we're in our n8n workflow. So now we can start making things. Now, as the first step, we want to create a on-chat message. Let's go back here. I'm going to press this little plus sign. I'm going to click on Advanced AI, AI Agent. We'll just neaten everything up. I'll just zoom out a little tiny bit as well. We're going to click on the chat model, Open AI chat model. Now, if you haven't set up your credentials before, do check out my How to Make Your First Agent video, which goes through how to get all the credentials set up. For this case, though, we're just doing the same process of adding our API key in here. So I'll just add that in really quick. All right, now I have my API key added. I'm going to choose GPT-4o because that's going to provide a little bit more speed as opposed to Mini, okay? So we're going to go GPT-4o. I'm going to go back again, drag it down a little bit, press Control as well, zoom in and out. It makes it a lot easier for you to navigate yourself around. Now we're going to click on Tool, and we're just going to type in MCP, and we can see the MCP client tool right here. So we already have access to it now. We're going to click on this, and again, I'm just going to drag it down just so I can neaten things up a bit. We'll open it up again, and here we can see we can make a new credential. Okay, so we're going to click on Create New Credential, and here we are. So where I want you to go now is the Model Context Protocol GitHub. So you're going to go to Google, and you're just going to search up Model Context Protocol Service GitHub, and you should be coming right here. Then I want you to press Control and F, and I just want you to type in Compass, and you'll find MCP Compass right here. We're going to click on that, and what this does, this is kind of like a search engine for searching for MCP servers, which is really useful because let's say, we don't exactly know how to find all these servers, everything like that. This is going to allow us to kind of search for the MCP servers for us as well. So this is really, really useful. We're going to scroll down, and we can see right here, we have the command and the arguments. So if we come back to n8n as well, we should see the command and the arguments right here. So what we want to do is, you see this little npx, okay? We want to put that straight into the command, and then we have -y with this right here. So I'm just going to copy this, come back to n8n, put a -y, a space as well, paste that in, and then I'm going to delete the environment variables right here. Okay, so that's just cleared because we don't actually need an API to use this. Then I'm just going to rename it for Compass, because that's what it's called, just so I know what it is as well. We save that, and that should be good to go. So now again up here for the node we want to rename it to, so we're going to name it as Compass. And for the tool description set to automatic, operation list tools, that's fine for now. However, later on we will need to set some descriptions to manually as well. Okay, now what I'm going to do is query the Compass, okay, to show me the tools that it has access to. Because if we come over here, we can actually see a list of operations, okay, that the MCP node can perform. So we do have like execute tool, get prompts, list resources, list tools, and so on and so forth, right? In this case, we're listing the tools, the functionality, the capabilities of this MCP node and server. We want to know what it can do and how to access it as well. So we're going to firstly click on list tools. We're going to send a query, and I'm just going to say list tools for Compass. It's going to connect through. Okay, so just give it a moment as well. There we go. It's going straight to Compass. And now in our output here from our agent, we should see all the servers and the functionalities and how to perform and which tool names to use as well to connect to this. And here we see the actual tool name. So the tool name here is called Recommended MCP Servers with a dash in between this, in between each day. And we're just going to copy this. Okay, we're just going to copy this. Now what I want you to do, I want you to click on this original one. I want you to duplicate it. So now we have an extra copy. We're going to connect it to the tool as well. Open it up. We'll go to Compass, and we're just going to put in Compass execute, just so we know the difference between the nodes as well. Okay. We're going to change the operation from list tools to execute tool, because now we're performing an action based on what this tool can do. So now it's actually going to perform the actions rather than just showing us what it can do. Okay. Now in the tool name, we're going to click on expression. We're going to put the curly brackets in. Okay. We're going to put a $. We're going to put from AI. Okay. And if you just want to make it easy, you can just press this as well. Then you're going to have the brackets there. We're going to chuck that in there. And here, we're just going to type in tool underscore name. And basically what this is going to allow us to do is that the AI agent is going to fill in this tool name with the tool that's required to access this MCP server, okay? Which was like recommended MCP servers or something like that. Now for the tool parameters, you see this little button right here. Just click on that and let the model fill it out automatically. Now we're going to come back and now we want to query this Compass execute. So what do we do here? Okay, so this is recommended MCP servers. So in this case, we probably want to get recommendations for MCP servers. So find me MCP servers for web scraping. Let's try that. So you'll see it going to the Compass list tools because it's just retrieving that information again based on what Compass can actually do, what tools I need to use, and what parameters I need to set as well. And we can see right now it's going to Compass execute, and right here we get the results. One trick that we can also perform here is obviously if we want to use this right here, we don't want to be accessing and listing out the tools every single time we perform an operation. Now, why? Well, because it takes longer and we're sending many requests and it's going back and forth and it's just taking too long. So, all right, so now I've just cleared my session, so we started from scratch as well. So our agent doesn't know what is going on, okay? Now, the actual tool name that we had before was recommended MCP servers. So now when I click on Compass execute here, I'm going to set this to manually for the tool description. And I'm going to say, call this tool to access tool name, recommended MCP servers, and using parameters query, okay? So as you saw before, we would actually have to list the tools, okay? The agent receives that information, and then it would execute it via the Compass execute to retrieve, the information that we actually originally asked it for. But now if I actually delete this, just move it aside, okay? So I've just disconnected from our AI agent. And if I access this now and I just said, find me MCP servers for web scraping, and I search for that, you'll see it now, rather than having to access this every single time, we can just access this directly. Oh, well, it actually failed. So let's have a look why. Okay. So we can see here, I've actually put the wrong name. This is the name right here. It's recommend, not recommended, as I have written here. Okay. So we'll just delete that. Recommend dash MCP dash servers using parameters query. Okay. Now let's come back. Now let's save that. And now let's run that again. And we should be good to go. And there we go. We're all successful as well. So we can see right here, this is kind of like a search engine for MCP servers, right? So I've asked it for servers for web scraping, and it's returned results for FireCrawl, which is absolutely correct. We have MCP and NPX fetch, which again is correct. And we then have search one API. Now, as a very, popular one in this case, FireCrawl is very good, okay? And we can just click on this directly, okay? And we go straight to the GitHub. And if we scroll down as well, we'll also see the same thing that we saw with the Compass one before, but there's one difference here. So we can see the arguments, which is -y and then FireCrawl -MCP. But for this one, we also have an API key that's required to use, okay? Because a lot of services obviously do require an API key, right? So let's get FireCrawl set up as well, because this is going to be a little bit of a different process, but it's going to be very, very easy as well, I promise you. So we're going to go to firecrawl.dev. Let's go here, move him down a little bit. All right, so I want you to get signed in, get logged in, get registered, do all that. I'm sure you can do that yourself, okay? Then we'll meet over at the dashboard right here, okay? Now, you'll see in the dashboard, we do have an API key right here, but if you haven't generated one yet, you might have to generate one first. So we're just going to go to API keys on the left. We're going to create an API key here. Just name it. So you can put whatever. Now I have that key, and all I'm going to do is just copy the code, okay? We're going to jump back to n8n, and that's not n8n, is it? Now, from here, I'm just going to duplicate one of these previous MCP nodes, okay? So I'm going to duplicate that, move it along here, connect it to the AI agent, open it up, change the name first so I don't get, lost and confused. We'll just call it FireCrawl list originally. We'll set the tool description to automatically because we haven't actually done that yet. Just ensure, all these are set. And obviously, you've already set this before as well. So that's all done. Now, for the credential, we want to click create a new credential. So we don't want to use Compass. We want to create a new one. We're going to change the name up here to FireCrawl. And for the command, we're going to put npx, we're going to put a -y, and then I'll just jump back here to see what it was again. It was FireCrawl -MCP. So we just want to have a space. So it's a -y space FireCrawl MCP. We're going to click on the environment right here, and we want to click on expression so we can see, what we're actually typing. Now, if we look at the expression right here, we can see it's FireCrawl _API _key. We're going to paste that in. We're going to put an equals, okay? And if we actually come back and I just copy this code again for the API key and paste that in right here. So that's my API key. Please don't use it. And now we're just going to click on save, okay? And that should be fine. Exit out of there. And what we want to perform first is we want to list the tools, okay? Because this is what we want to see first, okay? Like, what can this actual tool do and how to access it as well. So I'm just going to say list tools for FireCrawl. And we can see it jumping straight to FireCrawl list. And we're going to see the results in here very, very shortly. Okay, and there we have it. So in this case, we have a lot of things going on here as well. We have FireCrawl scrape, we have FireCrawl map, we have FireCrawl crawl, FireCrawl batch scrape, all the way down. We even had deep research with FireCrawl as well. So there's a lot of things that FireCrawl can actually perform. So a way to actually kind of utilize this to make it a lot easier, what we can do is query our actual AI agent, okay? And we can say something like this. For all the tool names, list them one by one, separated by commas, okay? And what I'm hoping to receive right here are a list of all these tool names, okay? And it's going to actually give me like a sentence of all of them. And then here we go. So we actually have all of these right here. And I'm just going to duplicate this again, come down over here, connect it up again, call this one execute. We're going to set this to manually, call this tool to scrape with FireCrawl and tool names, and paste that in right there. Okay. So now it has access to all the tool names as well. And operation now would be execute tool. The tool name, we can just copy paste the previous one we had here, paste it in here, and then set this as, defined by the model. Go back. We can now disconnect this one. But now we have two tools set up, okay, which don't actually require to be listing the tools every single time just to understand what's going on. However, there's something that I've also created here called dynamic prompting, okay? So I'm going to jump over to my MCP Ken version right here. Now, what this is allowing us to do here is we can actually use different prompts based on different tools, okay? So some tools require, a little bit more information on how to properly utilize it as well, because there might be steps in utilizing certain MCP servers. Like in Airtable, for instance, right? You would have to get a base ID first before you could get this, and that as well. You can't just go directly and get a record because it's like, well, what's the ID for it? So what I've done here is I've created a little code node, which I just connect to my chat input, okay? And we'll connect this through here. Actually, I'll just show you very, very quickly. So when I go here and I just type in, let's just say list tables, and you'll see it going through this code node, okay? So what this code node is doing is actually identifying based on what I'm saying through my actual query, okay, which was list tables. And since I have list tables in my query, it's then going to identify that and then output a keyword. Now that keyword then comes over to Supabase, okay? And Supabase fetches a row, okay, based on this keyword, which is Airtable, and then generates, well, not generates, but delivers and outputs a prompt, which I've actually put into my Airtable, into my Supabase. So if I just go to Supabase really quick, we can see right over here and go to my table editor, and I have my prompts. So my prompts table right here. Now we can see I have keyword set, and I can also have prompt set as well. So what this is doing, okay, is that the keyword that's identified through the query that I sent, via the chat input before, okay, the code notices that, it outputs the keyword, which was Airtable. It comes through a Supabase get node, okay. That keyword is then right here, right? So we can see the keyword is Airtable. Now that's actually going to get the row from Supabase, output what's in this row, which would be, this one right here, which has a prompt in it as well. And then if I connect my agent to this actual node as well right here, open this up, and if I put in that prompt right here, which was this, okay, now I actually have that prompt in my AI agent to use as well. Now, the reason why this can be really cool is because now every time we send a query, a chat input, it could be based on anything, right? So we might have one that's based on scraping for like FireCrawl, or we might have one that's based on YouTube transcripts, or one for Airbnb, one for Brave search, right? So every time this code node detects, a certain keyword or phrase, it will output an actual keyword, which will then get fetched. It then output a prompt, okay? And that prompt is dynamically changing based on our query that we sent, okay? And we still get that prompt user message as well, okay? So we can see my initial message that I sent, which was just list tables, is still here. So the AI agent still gets a prompt from us as well. And it's also getting an actual system prompt as well, based on what's in our Supabase. So this is always going to be changing based on what we require, which is very important. So now what this allows us to do is we can have a setup like this, and we could actually just set up all the prompts in here. We might have 5, we might have 10, okay? Now, every time we send a query, that prompt is then going to change so that the agent here is actually utilizing a system message or a system prompt, which is directly for that task at hand, okay? So it's an expert for that task at hand every single time, as opposed to having just a static, generic system message, which has to be followed, every single time. Now we actually get a dynamic prompt, and this allows us to get better results as well. And it, can perform actions a lot easier because it knows what the hell it's doing as well. Now, let's get set up with Brave Search, okay? So Brave Search is going to allow you to access the internet. And I know it's a very popular one. You've seen it on YouTube a lot, but it's a useful one to have, okay? So we're going to go to Brave, okay? And we're just going to go to the website. Obviously, just like before, get set up, get logged in, everything like that, okay? And you should be about here. We're going to click on API keys, and we want to generate a new key. So you see this add API key here. Now you might have to set up a subscription. There is a free version, okay? But you just have to set it up, that's all, before you can actually generate an API key. So once we're here, we're just going to add API key, give it a name, add, okay? And there we go. And we can just copy that straight away. Is that copied? Hopefully. Come back over here. We're just going to duplicate one of these again, okay? Duplicate that, connect this. We'll change this one in this case to Brave List. We can just set this to automatically for now. Execute tool, we'll put list tools, and we'll connect a new credential. And then if we just come back over here, and remember that GitHub, that was the Model Context Protocol GitHub, okay? We can just jump over here, and in this case, we just search for Brave. So we have Brave Search, click on that, we come down, and again, we have the arguments for the npx right here. Okay, so the command npx, arguments is -y, and then we just want to copy this right here, because the rest is easy to type in ourselves. So we'll copy that, jump back over to our workflow, we're going to put a -y here, paste that in, command is npx, okay, don't forget to change the name as well, so we'll just call this one Brave. Now for the environment variables, what we want to do is Brave API key equals, we come back to our Brave API section, copy that, come over here, paste that in, and then press save. Exit out of there, and that should be all good to go. Now we're going to query the agent, list tools for Brave, and now it's going to get all the tools, to identify what's actually possible using Brave, return the results for us, and there we go. Okay, so we can see here that Brave has 2 different tools. Okay, so that has Brave Web Search and Brave Local Search. Okay, has a description, features, and parameters as well. So its parameters are like, the query, the count, offset. So with this information right here, there's one little thing that isn't here though, and that's the actual name of the tool, because it's not going to be like Brave space web space search. It's definitely not going to be that. Okay, so if we put that in to the tool name, that actually won't even work at all. It'll just be returning an error. So what I'm going to do is show you actually how to get this as well, if they actually haven't placed it in here for us to see. So we can come back over here, we can connect this, click on this, we're going to go to execute tool, okay? I'm just going to copy one of these again, tool names, paste it in the Brave one right here. We'll put this as Brave execute, okay? Press this little thing, this little button here, so it's defined by the model. Now when I go in here, and let's just say I just cleared my session again, and now we're just going to search with Brave, okay? So we're just going to say use Brave to search for the latest AI news. So we'll click on that. Oh, that's right. It's actually going to connect to the Brave list first. I forgot to remove that. So let's just see if it works anyway. Doing it the standard way, which is a little bit slower. Okay, that looks to be fine. But we want to avoid connecting to the tool as well, right? So I'm just going to exit out of there, disconnect that one. I'm going to reset this session here. So I just want to copy this as well. Reset the session. Now I want to see if it's actually going to be able to use it, since it doesn't know the actual tool name now. And there we go. So once we jump over here as well, all right, so just let it finish up so I can actually see. Hurry up. Okay, there we go. So if you're not provided with an actual tool name, when you execute it and it fails, you will generally see the exact tool names right here as well. So we can see the available tools is brave_web_search. And then they also have the local version right here as well. And now that I know that, I'm just going to set the description. So I'm going to say, call Brave for web search using tool names Brave Web Search and Brave Local Search. Okay. So now it will be informed of what the tool names are as well. Okay. And we're going to perform the exact same action, okay, because previously it didn't know what was going on. It didn't know what tool to use. So we're going to refresh that session, and now we're going to search for it again. And there we go, okay. So now it knows exactly what tool to use every single time, because we've provided it with that information. But what's great is that now we don't have to go and access and list the tools and list what it has to do and blah, 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 blah. And it's just taken so long going back and forth. We just go directly to the source and get the answer straight away, okay? And as you can see, well, here you go. We have the latest AI news. I'm not going to read any of that, but that's how we set it up. And then you can just start playing around, okay? So you can start finding new tools to use, new MCP servers. So we do have that Compass that we initially set up, which we can like search for MCP servers, everything like that. If you want to use a browser version though, I also have that right here. So it's called mcphub.io, okay? So just go to mcphub.io. And now what this allows you to do is you can just type in here, like whatever MCP servers you want, okay? So YouTube, for instance, press on search, and then there we go. We get MCP service related to YouTube. And this could be for anything. So it's really, really simple to use. We have all the information here, and we can just keep going, you know, like, oh, okay, I want something for Airtable now. Let's see what they have for Airtable. Okay, there we go. We do have Airtable at the top. Sometimes it does return some irrelevant ones, but generally the first ones are going to be the most relevant as well. And that's going to be the end of the video. So I hope you're all connected with MCP and you get to enjoy and get ahead, because you're definitely going to be ahead of most people who aren't using MCP currently. And it's a lot of fun as well. There's a lot more to come. There are a lot of limitations. I won't lie. You know, we're still waiting on official nodes from n8n themselves as well, because a lot of the other platforms already have the MCP integration directly. But once we start getting that, and once we start getting a lot more MCP servers as well, I think we're going to see a lot of great things coming. But that's going to be the end of this video. We're doing a lot more in the school community in regards to this as well, with custom MCP servers coming as well. If I don't see you there, I'll see you in the next video.